What up, traders? What up, investors? Ken here from Dyslexic Investor, and we're going to be looking at another Wall Street Bets super post from 6 cents, basically calling out the guy who said he was an imbecile on making this trade here. He bought the overall ticker symbol NET. Of course, this is has really been flying here off the roof here, basically buying these calls a little bit ago, and they're expiring on November 20th this year. Buying 27 of those calls, up nearly 244%, even up substantially more today. We'll be looking at that option directly. But let's go ahead and flip over to the chart here. We can kind of slide on over here. So within the trade again, looking at NET, which is again Cloudflare, you can see here on the past 2 days, let's just do it since Monday, or the gap up from Friday. It is up in about 2 days. It's up 30% okay? So 30% in 2 days, not too shabby. And of course, it was a call options. Of course, that has expanded substantially. You can see that again with the 240% there. This thing has just been flying higher for whatever reasons. We're not gonna be diving into that. But looking here at the trade tab, we're gonna be looking at the November 20th, the call options that this individual had. He had the $50 call option that I believe he at the time of the post, he had at basically $7.95. Of course, that option has expanded substantially, and now it's nearly around $11.50 to $12. So we can do some quick math for you folks out there. Do calculator app, swing that puppy over here. So we're just gonna let's just do on the low end. So 11, let's do in the middle. Let's just do 1175. And we're gonna do it times the 27 contracts the guy had. That's $310, and we have to times that by 100 because the call option. So it's at $31,000. So he's nearly up substantially more. So again, looking here at the post, he was only up 244%. He's going to be up well over 500% at this point with the amount of, if he didn't sell, of course, this is all the speculation if he didn't sell on cashing in. Basically, I think it was like a $5,000 or $4,000 investment in this initially, and it just literally ran up. And we can see on how fast these options can move. Again, this is not a crazy short-dated option here, so it's nothing going to be like he gave himself a couple days, a couple weeks out for this option to play. He wasn't playing like that Friday's options like in October. To look at how fast that option has expanded, we can go to the little tab here, and we're going to go to the red here, and we're going to dive into this here, and we go to the chart. And you can see on how fast that option literally was trading for around, just a couple of days ago, is trading for about $1.34, so $135 per contract. And of course, that has expanded to the high end side of nearly above or at above $12. So pretty large expansion in that price. So just in the 2 days, so again, we talked about the stock just being up 30%. This option was up nearly 315%. So this is kind of like the magical sauce of options. It's very difficult to get the timing right and getting especially calls on something very aggressive like this internet kind of stock with Cloudflare. As you can look here on the chart, there wasn't really, I wouldn't say a leading indicator of this is going to be popping off or whatever. Again, this didn't move on earnings. It moved on news. It moved on expansion of news on an article and the overall development of the stock. That being said, that large move to the upside, gapping up substantially, was continue to go higher. So we can look here on the standard deviation channel here. We can see that on the daily side, we punched through the 1 deviation, which is this little line here. Now we're hitting that 2nd deviation potentially. That could be potentially some kind of signs to slow down. And if we go back to here, we see some potential targets at the 2618, which we've seen here before with Zoom. And if you've seen CRM move, they both had substantial moves, but those are most earnings based. Since this hasn't been earnings based, I'm going to be a little bit on the negative side in the sense of like, okay, earnings is we're seeing a large move like this for me is great if you're in it. I'm fantastic. Give you a nice little give you a thumbs up for that, and maybe even a chest pump for that. But I have to be very careful here in what I would do in my own account. I wouldn't be able to just going in here and just buying this straight up, because this move has been already somewhat set in place. The move has really gone through the RSI and volume zone oscillator on the daily side. And if we flip to the weekly side, the RSI is on the high side as well. That doesn't mean that it has to come down. It doesn't mean it's going to come crashing down. I want to make that very, very much aware of that. This is just kind of means that potentially could slow down a little bit, potentially getting ready for putting some stops in and things like that. Since it's on the daily side has expanded so much from the 5 and 8 EMAs, sometimes when a stock has this large movement higher in one single direction, it kind of needs to catch its breath. It needs to relax. Maybe got a shin split running up this hill real fast, and it just needs to relax, take a break, and kind of hold this pattern to kind of wait for those moving averages to kind of potentially catch up. Because if this does pull back, even if it pulls back all the way down to back to around $48, that trend is still intact. So here on the daily side, it's been holding that 5 or 8 pattern for the last like 2 or 3 weeks, and then it just exploded higher here on a rocket ship. It literally just took an elevator and hit like, okay, take me to the 60th floor. Bing, there he goes. And it's really held that 5 and 8 moving averages substantially well and just really climbed higher on that movement. You can see that, of course, with the volume coming in. We're talking an enormous amount of volume coming in. So going back to that standard deviation chart, so it normally trades 3.6 million shares on those 2 days. That large uptick day, it traded nearly 27 million. Okay, so just to be in fact of like how much has been traded. Again, that doesn't mean that those are actively holding. Again, that's a lot of scalping, blowing up a lot of potential short squeezes like we saw with GameStop, and these kind of movements here. So potentially, what do I think could happen? There's a lot of scenarios that could be playing out, but if everything in the market continues going well with the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, we can potentially see this kind of slow down here, potentially maybe come down to even 52. Again, like we talked about, anything below like 48 to even to the 46 level, the trend is still intact because the 5 and 8 are very aggressive moving averages to continue this trend higher. It can come all the way down to the 21 EMA, and that trend is still somewhat intact. It has broken the 21 EMA times before, but this is setting a new precedence here. Just really creating a new front, a new trend here potentially on this large move higher. I'm just kind of resetting everything. Of course, it's going to take time for the analysts to move their upgrades up and down. That's what happens when a larger move happens like this. People try to figure out what happens. So a great example is looking at like CRM. CRM on that earnings, huge move higher, moved about a couple days higher, but then guess what? It kind of stalled out here a little bit. Yes, the market did take a little dippy dip in the cold water, aka a little bit of a sell-off, but it came down to the 21, even to the 34, and the trend was still intact here. Same with this one. We're going to be looking at Zoom. Of course, that has a pretty large day coming up with Zoom on Analyst Day. I think it's on Wednesday afternoon, I believe. This one is literally, I think it's going to be breaking out to well above that 563 to even that $700 range if this trend can continue. By the trend to continue here is it literally needs to stay above the 21, which is around 463, even down to around the 428. That trend is still somewhat intact with this movement higher. Again, Zoom is literally just taking market share away. I know Google offers it. I know Microsoft offers it, but guess what? Zoom is the headline. Zoom's got the story. All the hedge funds, all the institutional funds love the Zoom, and they're buying it all up once it even gets down to even the 21 or 34 EMA. But for my kind of cup of tea, this thing has run a little bit too hot. This would be a good candidate for myself to maybe potentially sell some puts in and maybe capitalize on a position in around that. But that being said, this has definitely been a large move higher and something that I want to be very careful about. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.